This week's chapter of My Hero Academia has some of the best art that we've seen in the series for a decent while. And while it does feature the return of one major character, I'm sure you could already figure out who it is by the title of the video, let's talk about how we get there. So thanks to Rukasu, thanks to Justice, Dabi's pole dance, and the whole team that provides leak information. And if you want to support this channel, please try and get this video to 1K likes. And if you'd like to, please subscribe because we've been doing daily uploads. I'm trying to keep you guys entertained until My Hero Academia Season 6 and beyond. But My Hero Academia chapter 366 is titled Peaches, and we're going to figure out what that means. There was a little speculation on whether or not it has something to do with Momo, because Momo's name means peaches in Japanese, but we're going to see where that actually goes in a second. That's going to take a left turn, I'll say. So Rukasu starts with, the chapter begins with a narration for Tomora's body, that it will always seek an ideal form. So after being overcome by the heroes, the stress from the damages made him turn his family members' bodies into fists. Shigaraki then hits Mirko with a smash, sending her flying. So looking at the scans that we can't show in the video for obvious reasons, on the very first page we start seeing a lot of the fingers and hands that Shigaraki was controlling falling apart, as different heads and body parts of different members of his family start forming out of his body, specifically out of the giant arm that he has on the side of his body. And from there, Shigaraki's body continues to warp and mutate as it looks like his body is completely wrapped in fingers, and on the next page we see exactly that. Shigaraki has more or less hulked out, with his body being completely covered in fingers and hands, and in one of his hands, which is now really big along with himself, every one of his fingers is a different member of his family, with the fingertips all being heads. It looks really ridiculous. I can't wait to see this chapter in full high quality, because even from just the pictures of the chapter, everything looks spectacular. Horikoshi definitely came back from this break with an amazing high level quality to his art this week. And it's on the third page where we do see Shigaraki doing a massive uppercut with this giant hand with, 5 fully sized human bodies as fingers, uppercutting Mirko and absolutely ragdolling her away while snapping Best Jeanist cables that were holding her down. So I don't know what to expect about the state of Mirko and what is going to be happening with her after this chapter, but we may have very well just seen the end of Mirko right in that attack. Now, let's not confirm it until we see the state that her body is in, but it kind of reminds me of the situation with Midnight, right? Where we assumed maybe Midnight would get out of the situation that she was in because we didn't see that she was dead, but after the battle, we did come back and see that in fact she was dead, and I'm wondering if it's going to be a very similar situation here with Mirko, though I am hoping that she survives. And while Mirio kind of tries to jump in the way and get Shigaraki's attention to, sort of take the attention away from Mirko, Shigaraki just kind of ignores Mirio, right, and hits Mirko and sends her flying, and then moves on to Tamaki, remembering that Tamaki did the massive kind of proton cannon, and hits him as hard as he can also, sending Tamaki flying into the ground. Trying to help Tamaki, we have Nejire coming in the next page, and she tries to fire some pikes at Shigaraki, who looks at her as Mirio kind of calls her name out and screams like, hey, whoa, stop, Shigaraki, cut it out, trying to get his attention once again, and Shigaraki just grabs a bunch of rocks from the ground, or like smacks his arm against the ground and throws a bunch of like scattered rocks at Nejire, or hits a bunch of scattered rocks at Nejire, and it doesn't look like it's very good because we do see like kind of blood splatter coming from her body when these giant and small shards of rocks head her way. And if you remember Attack on Titan, little pieces of rocks or giant pieces of rocks can definitely do damage to a human body. But continuing with Rukasu's leaks, Mirio shouts Nejire's name, but an attack comes at him right away. He dodges and Nejire tries to strike back, which causes Shigaraki to hit her with rubble. He turns back on Mirio and says that he already knows that he poses no threat, which frustrates Lemillion even more. So in this chapter, for a couple pages, we do more or less see like Lemillion breaking down, right, and just realizing how useless he is in this fight, where the main thing he was here to do was just to distract Shigaraki, but that's only going to work so long, right? You can only be a pest to someone like Shigaraki so long until he realizes, oh, I can just completely ignore you. You know what I mean? You are literally harmless to me. So if I just completely ignore you, you're just going to keep dancing around while I kill everyone around you, and then I don't know, like I don't even have to finish you off. You could just live with what I did to everyone. Tamura all for one goes towards Jeanist and tells him not to fix what is broken, of course talking about Bakugo here. Jeanist prepares to trap him in a cage of wires, with Mirio using the chance to attack, and on this page we do see Shigaraki kind of rushing toward Best Jeanist as Best Jeanist takes the remainder of his threads and moves forward looking pretty much half dead, right? His eyes are extremely strained, they're like half open, he's barely able to look forward. And at the same time, we see Mirio dive into the ground to dive in front of Shigaraki real quick, as Jeanist is doing this giant kind of ball of web and string to lock Shigaraki down. But like Rukasu says, Tamura all for one destroys them as if they were nothing. Tamaki, Nejire, and Mirko are on the ground, and all seems lost. Now I'm looking at the page, and yeah, Shigaraki definitely kind of blitzes through Mirio. Jeanist is looking like he's in complete disbelief, like he doesn't know what he could possibly do as all of his threads are being destroyed, but he keeps like putting threads in Shigaraki's way to kind of hinder him in any way possible, buying milliseconds at a time, right? But trying to buy all the maximum time. And we see Mirio just with a face of despair, right? Seeing Edsha with one of his eyes wide open like in disbelief, and Tamaki on the ground, hunched over in pain, defeated. Nejire on the ground, bleeding from all over her face, defeated. Mirko is literally like in a tree. She might even be impaled by the trunk of a tree. She's just flung and gone. And all of this is apparently what Night Eye saw when he said that Mirio was gonna be a great hero? Mirio begins to wonder if this is really the promised future that Night Eye first saw. Suddenly though, Mandalay begins to transmit a mysterious message asking them to hold the barrier open and to hold Shigaraki for 2 seconds. But according to the heroes, in their hearts, they know that that 2 seconds is more than what they can buy. And that's absolutely correct, because we see Shigaraki pretty much tearing through every single one of Best Jeanist's cords, and there are just none left. So since that's the only thing he can do, it's really up to Mirio here to make a difference. And knowing that it's finally his time, finally his moment to have his main character moment, right? That shonen protagonist moment where you remember the past, you have those flashbacks to your master, everything that he taught you, all the things that were important for you to remember when you were training, and all the things that led up to this moment. And Mirio comes up with the perfect solution to stopping Shigaraki. At first he thinks of different alternatives, but none of them would work. But it's then that he remembers Sir's words. A world without smiles or humor has no bright future. Which leads to Mirio's final move, even crazier than Phantom Menace. The peach is ripe. Which is exactly what Mirio shouts as he turns around and goes in the ground and pops out with a furious face, screaming, "The peach is ripe," and sticks his butt out toward Shigaraki from the ground. I literally can't even be mad at this, honestly. You know, even Shigaraki laughs at this. Even Shigaraki gives it a little chuckle. I can't be mad at all. But my favorite part about this, honestly, is the page turn. Because remember, imagine you're reading this, right? You're reading it in the volume. Mirio laughs. You're like, what's about to happen with Shigaraki? What's going to go on here? Is he just going to attack Mirio? Is he going to be confused? What's going to happen? And then on the next page, you see Shigaraki, which is supposed to be the focus on this big double-page spread. Of course, your eyes are going to immediately go to him, and you see him kind of exhale real quick and then laugh and kind of, you know, I think he goes, what? Or something like that. He responds to Mirio kind of confused. But then you look up in the sky, which it's very beautifully drawn, and you see Deku with Black Whip in each hand kind of stretched out as he gets ready to slingshot himself towards Shigaraki, and you can see him in the air, balled up, ready, with Fajin completely activated and surrounding the area behind him with energy, and the One For All energy completely surrounding him, as we find out that Deku did find the Star and Stripes jets in the air, who apparently did help Deku get here faster, or at least led him to exactly where he had to go. So Deku has arrived in the Shigaraki area. Rukasu says that the last 5 pages are some of the best that Horikoshi has ever drawn. First, we get the spread of Deku arriving, which is the one I just described now, then 2 single pages for his and Shigaraki's face, which are also full single pages that are very, very detailed for the 2 final kind of hero and villain meeting in their final battle time. And then the last one is of Deku hitting Shigaraki with a full-on smash, right? And he actually blitzes right past Shigaraki after kicking him, it seems like, with a full power Fajin smash, leaving Shigaraki in the air twisting with the shockwave still around him as Deku lands before him, seemingly readying another attack. And that is where the chapter ends, as we see the destroyed UA in the background and the final battle begins. Now, I am expecting the cutaway to another area next week. I don't think we're going to see exactly a continuation of this moment here because, you know, final battle time means that there's no time for anything else and there's a lot of other things going on. But what do you guys think about Deku's return, and what do you think about the likelihood that Bakugo is going to wake up and we are going to see a very similar Heroes Rising sort of situation where Deku and Bakugo team up to take on Shigaraki?